All right, let's dive into a metric that your fitness tracker, that watch or ring you wear, is probably measuring every single night. We're talking about heart rate variability, or HRV. But what does that number actually mean? Let's figure it out. So let me just start with a kind of weird question. What if I told you that a perfectly steady heartbeat, one that ticks away like a metronome, isn't actually the sign of a super healthy, resilient system? What if the real key to your performance and recovery is, well, the exact opposite? And that's exactly where heart rate variability, or HRV, comes into the picture. It's not about how fast or slow your heart is beating. Nope. It's all about the tiny, constantly changing gaps of time between each and every one of those heartbeats. And we're talking measurements in milliseconds here. So why should you care about these tiny little variations? Because this single metric, it's one of the most powerful windows we have into what's going on inside your body. It's a direct signal from your nervous system, and it tells us a story about your stress, your recovery, and really, how ready you are to take on the day. Okay, so how does this whole thing actually work under the hood? Let's decode the connection between these tiny time gaps and your body's master control system. Just imagine your heart rate is a nice, calm 60 beats per minute. You'd probably think, okay, that's one beat exactly every second. But here's the crazy part. It's not. The time between one beat might be 980 milliseconds, and the very next one could be 1020. That constant ebb and flow, that difference, that is your heart rate variability. This variability is all driven by two competing sides of your nervous system. The easiest way to think about it is like a car. You've got your sympathetic system, that's the gas pedal. It's your fight or flight response that revs you up for action. And when you hit the gas, your HRV goes down. Then you've got the parasympathetic system, that's your brake pedal. It handles all the rest and digest stuff and promotes recovery. And when you hit the brakes, your HRV goes up. So here's the key takeaway. A higher HRV is usually a really good sign. It means your body isn't stuck with the gas pedal floored. It means your brake pedal, that all-important rest and recovery system, is responsive and doing its job, making you way more adaptable and resilient to whatever life throws at you. So how's your wearable actually calculating this stuff? Well, it's almost certainly using a metric called RMSD. Just think of it as the gold standard for tracking this stuff day to day. It's super sensitive to your brake pedal activity, so it tells you a lot about your recent stress and sleep quality. You might hear about another one called SDNN, but that's more for long-term clinical stuff. The number you see on your app every morning? Yeah, that's RMSD.
And this, of course, brings us to the million-dollar question. It's the one I get asked all the time. You have this number, so what do you do with it? What in the world is a good HRV score?
Let's just tackle this head on. You wake up, you sync your device, you open the app, and there it is. A number. Is that good? Is it bad? What does it all mean? And the simple answer, which I know can be a little frustrating, is this. There is no single good number for everyone. It just doesn't exist. Your HRV is deeply, deeply personal. It's influenced by your age, your genes, your fitness level, pretty much everything.
But that being said, we can use some general guideposts to get our bearings. For that RMSSD metric we talked about, a score below 20 might suggest you're pretty stressed or under-recovered. On the other end, scores over 70 are pretty common for, say, elite endurance athletes. But please, I have to say this again, think of these as loose guides, not some strict rulebook you have to follow.
This right here, this is the most important thing to remember. Seriously, forget about what your friend's score is, forget about some chart you saw online. The only comparison that actually matters is you versus you. Is your score trending up or down over weeks and months? How does today's number look compared to your personal normal? That's where the magic is. So what makes that number bounce around every day? Well, it usually boils down to 5 big culprits. Bad sleep is probably the fastest way to absolutely tank your HRV. Any kind of mental or emotional stress has a huge effect. Your workouts are a big one too. And then there's alcohol. Man, even one drink can crush your HRV. And of course, if you're getting sick, you'll see it there first. Okay, so now we know what it is and what it means for you personally. Now we get to the really empowering part, how you can actually take the wheel and start to improve it. And honestly, this is the best news of all. This is not some fixed number that you're stuck with for life. Not at all. Your heart rate variability is highly trainable. You can actively influence it, starting today. So where do you start? Let's talk about the 4 biggest levers you can pull. First, and this is totally non-negotiable, you have to nail your sleep. Consistency is everything. Second, you can literally tap into your brake pedal on command using slow breathing with really long exhales. Third, build up your aerobic fitness with some Zone 2 cardio. That directly strengthens the system over time. And finally, lift weights for all those amazing long-term benefits, but just make sure you balance that stress with real, dedicated recovery. And beyond those big four, you can also just reduce all the little bits of noise that tax your system all day. We're talking about simple stuff here like cutting back on caffeine late in the day, having less alcohol, getting some bright sunlight in your eyes in the morning, and just walking more. These little things, they add up big time.
So as we start to wrap this up, let's just zoom out and focus on the ultimate takeaway here. What is the real point of tracking all this data anyway?
Look, the goal is not to obsessively chase a higher and higher number every single day. That's just a recipe for more stress. The true power of HRV is using it as a feedback tool. It's about developing a deeper conversation with your own body, learning how it's really responding to your sleep, your stress, your workouts, to your life. I just love this quote because it really captures the whole idea perfectly. Try to think of your HRV score not as a grade you get each morning, but as a little whisper from your body. It's given you this amazing, objective piece of feedback on how well you're balancing everything. So, the next time you look at your HRV data, don't just see a number. Take a second and ask yourself this one simple question. What is my body trying to tell me today? The better you get at listening, the better you'll get at everything else.